Hello, it's Gene. Decided I want to talk about some things. I was going to originally title it, I might still do it, saying hypocritical, 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 I can't even say the word, hypocritical, hypocrites females, but I obviously it's not working, so I'll put it in my title. First, before I get into it, I want to talk a little about Sargon of Akkad just put something out, and I think it's brilliant in a lot of ways. As a liberal, I've had to defend myself so many different times in so many different forums or out in public because the people on the other side, on the right side, they look at what's happened to the left, especially the new left, the new progressives, and that use gender identity politics and racial identity politics. So I'm going to put a link down below. Now, most of you probably already know who he is. I mean, this guy is a big, huge tuber. So me recommending his channel is kind of stupid, but it is it is what I've been trying to say for a while. Uh, what the left has become is not what I am, and the idea I'm a liberal and I believe in the individual and limited government, and the left has been bastardized because of the neo-progressive movement, and so I've linked it below. And it's about 18 minutes, and it's worth it. And it's actually a series that he's going to be doing for a while, and I recommend it to you. Um, he's, he's a liberal like myself, and it's nice to have somebody out there with that type of voice to tell us what we really are, not what everybody claims us to be, and why this country is going down the tube. It isn't because of liberals; it's by the new left, the new progressives. So I talked that this was going to be like a video about hypocritical females, and I think I should start off with one of the most biggest hypocrites in the world is Hillary Clinton. Um, yeah, she flip-flops, but all politicians do it. But several times last night, she said the reason why she should be elected was she was a woman, and of course I can put this whole double standards out there and say, well, if any of those men out there said, well, the reason why you should elect me is because I'm a man, obviously he would be shunned for that. I don't know that your gender really should qualify you to be president. Um, and we could put down, we can go through the list of how many things that she's flipped on, and you've seen my videos about the email, and of course anybody who actually thought about supporting Sanders after last night, basically trying to give her an out on the email. If any young people are watching this, that just means that he would just give it out to people who committed espionage against the United States. So uh, anyway, she's probably going to get through all this, and then the problem is she might get elected, but the House is still going to be Republican, and she's going to have to go so far to the right, which she is anyway, and then she'll probably be impeached, because what she did as Secretary of State was illegal, and it could come back, and her husband got impeached but didn't get convicted. She might get impeached and convicted. Okay. Um, I've talked to you about Ronda Rousey before, and about the whole suicide. Her father killed himself. I was hoping that she would be a type of person that would go up to Congress and say we need to do more stuff for men's issues in this area. Of course, she hasn't done anything yet, and I doubt she ever will. But a couple news stories came out this week, and of course, if it was anybody else, anybody as the magnitude of a star that she is, it would be all over the front page. People will be saying that that person needs to be suspended or not have any endorsements. In her own book, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but I'm going to put it in the in my low bar. She said that she found out her boyfriend, I think his name is Digario or whatever. Anyway, you can look in the thing. Was taking pictures of her. And I don't know if he was going to sell them or whatever, but she found him, waited for him, waited and waited and waited. So this was a planned attack. He got in there. First, she just hit him so hard across the face with her hand, open hand, said it hurt her so much, even though she had a fight against Misa State, Tate, and she didn't want to keep doing anymore. And he's now during this entire altercation, he never raised his hand to her at all, and she puts it in her book, and she basically beat the shit out of him, keyed him, kneed him in the face, picked him up, threw him down. Any other person, any man that would have done this to a female would be in trouble right now, and the UFC would suspend him. But of course, nothing's going to happen because she's the star of UFC and she's a female. And of course, all the crap that she said about Mayweather, who's a slime ball, which I don't like the guy at all. But she did the same damn thing, and now she's allegedly going out with somebody who beat up his own wife. And the other, and I linked the pictures of her that apparently he did to her. That's Travis Browne. And was the other part of it is now Rousey was screwing him while he was still married. So no matter what you do, you can't take out the trailer trash out of Rousey. She is still white trash, and she believes that that's how you deal with your problems. You go and beat somebody up. So she's no different than a guy with a white beater shirt and goes around beating up on his woman. She's the same type of person. No matter how we try to pop her up and say that she's better, and it's unfortunate because she's in a position that she could actually influence a lot of people, especially when it comes to male suicides, but she won't do it. And nothing will happen to her because there's the double standard. So I call her, she's a big time hypocrite because what she said about Mayweather, and at the same time when she said this, she had already done this herself to a man, and now she's dating a man that's been alleged to beating up his wife. So I'll have to give you like the biggest hypocrite of the ward there, Ronda. Okay, the next one is, why do I even really care about her, other than the fact that she has a big following? She was watching the Democrat debate last night, and she said something so stupid, so crazy. I know that Son of Kaz saw it, and maybe I think part of what he did is video on is, and he'll probably bring it up in the next part, is this is what she said. Her name is Laci Green. I'll put a link below. Her Twitter is GoGreen18. Mental health is such a BS scapegoat for gun violence. Stronger correlation between white men and gun violence than mental illness. And she hashtag Dem Debate. And it had several retweets and favorites. Why is this about the stupidest thing? Now, she says a lot of stupid things, okay? But 33,000 people get killed by a gun each year. About that, most of that is about 20 to 21%, to 21,000 is suicide. Of those, 80% are male. And above those, probably 70% of those are white men. So I guess half of all uh, gun deaths is by a white man, but half of it's doing it themselves. And I guess she just thinks that nobody that kills themselves has any issues going on in the brain at that point. Not under some sort of depression that they have no way out, or the fact is, as a man, there's no one that they can go talk to. That and the fact that she thinks that all these mass shootings, which are the smallest areas of all of the uh, murders, that none of these men or young boys had any mental issues. That it's just her claim is that it's the stronger correlation between being a white man and gun violence. So the fact that you're a white man and that you're very depressed and you decide, you know what, I'm going to check out because there's no one's going to listen to me. Instead of saying we need to really look at mental issues because, and I did in my video before, and I'll link that below as well if you haven't seen it. The problem is she has such a following and of young women especially, and they believe this stuff that it is a. I'm not saying that when you're not, you can be sane and kill yourselves, absolutely, but most of them have some other issues going on in their life, and they have no other way out. And if we looked at a mental care in this country, and these people would know that they have a place they can go to, they won't be ostracized, shamed on, reviled, or whatever, because this is what they think is the best thing to do. And this woman who has no frickin' life experiences, that is only famous because of the time that she was born. If this was 30 years ago and she didn't have a platform like YouTube, she would just be every other. It's shocking to me that people listen to people like her, and I would hope. The problem is you can't really debate her or say what she's saying is wrong, because then you're saying you're being harassed. And what Sarg Avakad talks about, how the new progressives will stifle debate, and if you even question it, it becomes harassment. And you saw it at the UN, that just by saying somebody's a liar, that they want to call that's harassment, and it's cyber violence. So some people I'm sure read said stuff to her, but she doesn't listen. She thinks that she's right, and she's got her correlation, like she's actually understands this, that she has a degree in dealing with mental issues. I mean, ugh. Okay, the last one is, while I was watching the debate, I mean, I want to do my civic duty, and I want to watch it and hear what they have to say. Although I think there's only one person on that stage that's even remotely fit to lead, and that's Jim Webb. But of course he won't be. They kept showing the trailer for the suffragettes movie, and again, this is another bastardization of history. And I started thinking about, if you really looked at what they did and how they only wanted certain classes of women to actually have the vote. They didn't really care about the people of color, excuse me, or women that were lower class than they. They only wanted to be for women that were at the same level as the wealthy men who had the vote. Now, I haven't seen the movie, but it's clear from the trailer they want to make it look like they're heroines. And I read one review talking about how angry and how that it still has a point for today, because at the end of the movie it talks about how long it took in these different areas for the vote for women to come in. The question is, will this movie actually show that most men did not have the vote at that time, and that they only got the ability to vote when they went into war? And even today in the United States and in the UK, you have to sign up to be possibly conscripted into the military. Women don't have to do that. And until they actually do that, I will never there never will be some sort of equal there. Um, they didn't do anything other than marching, and then one person put her name threw in front of herself of a horse and died. And I hear this all the time from feminists that people died for the vote. Yeah, she did. Meanwhile, millions of men died just so they could have the ability to vote. And the question is, will they actually even bring that up in the movie? I'm going to say they won't. They want to show these people as heroines. And the other part, and I put it in my links below, about the white feather. The same people that were the suffragettes at that time would sit on the side of the road looking at people that were in civilian clothes, men, and would go up there and say, why aren't you going out and defending us, the women of this world, and the realm, to hang this. So that was another time that the whole shaming tactic started. It is so part of the feminist dogma that they shame men into whatever they need to do to get what they want. Now, there's nobody. I would never say that a woman shouldn't have the right to vote, but let's be realistic about what really happened there. Most men didn't have the vote at the time either. It was mostly wealthy men that had that, and maybe that was quote unquote patriarchy because they're the only ones that had the power during that time. But all that these women wanted at that time was the same level women that were already of privilege to have the vote. They didn't give a shit about people that were in factory work or something like that. I don't know how the movie's going to show itself, but that wasn't what it was. And when we finally had universal suffrage, that means everybody had the right to vote. That was for the rest of all the men and all the women, whether they're 18, 19, whatever, 21, that came into vogue. It's not just because it was part of the women's movement. They changed the law for everybody. So when I look at something like this, and I've done this many, many times, I watched the movie Birth of a Nation with my son or something like that a while back, and he's like, I can't believe people thought this way, or thought that the KKK were the heroes in this movie. And I'm like, you have to look at the culture back then. So I looked at that and I said, well, I give them a pass on what they were trying to do. And it was a story. It wasn't real. But there was a lot of sentiment in the South during that time, after the war, the Civil War, and they were oppressed down there, and they were looking for something for their hero in that movie. And so I just said, yeah, you can call it racist or whatever. And look at it now; it looks like that. But what the suffragettes did were terrorism. They were terrorists, and with bombs and that. But are we supposed to say that that's okay because the result was the end result was right? Or am I supposed to say, okay, like I did with the Birth of the Nation, it was a cultural thing, so I just let that go? I don't know what the thing is, but I think that if you're going to have a movie and you're going to really, if it was just a fictionalized account of the people that were in that movement, but they're showing real things that happen, and then at the end they're trying to say this is why it took to happen, so women would not be oppressed. They didn't want, it. I just wish that when they do things like that it be balanced. And finally, I do want to talk about, just in a minute, that there's a feminist that's putting out a documentary, and I will link it below. Not really sure if it's going to end up being a hit job or not. I've looked at she's got like an 8-minute preview of it. It looks like it's being balanced, but it is interesting some of the way that you hear the music in the background. It almost looks like when she's talking about the MRAs, we're kind of like the bad people, and the feminists look like the good people. And Feist did this a couple years ago, when they interviewed the honey batters and said that these are women that think that rape is okay, and they had these weird kind of sounds in the background. So she's got a Kickstarter, and she has a proven record of documentaries, unlike the Anita Sarkeesian effect. So I would assume that it's going to be a good product at the end, technically. We'll see what she actually has to say. But I think that I think we'll get at least something out there. Um, but, and I'll link that below as well. So, so I don't know really want to call this hypocritical females or just thoughts of the week. I don't know. It's been a kind of weird week with this. So, if you have any comments, please leave them below. If you like it, just go ahead and like it and share it if you would. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good day. Bye.